Cheap sewing machines that promise everything you need for under $200 often end up gathering dust after the first missed stitch or tangled bobbin. I've seen a lot of folks stare at a half-finished quilt and wonder if they should have spent a little more up front. So the question I keep hearing is, does stepping up to a higher-priced, feature-rich model actually feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another pricey disappointment? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through the kind of real-world experience you get with the Janome Skyline S7 Indigo and see whether the extra cost is justified. When you first pull a machine like the Skyline S7 out of the box, the hesitation isn't just about the price tag. It's about the time you'll invest in learning the controls, figuring out the threading path, and setting up the work surface. For anyone who's ever tried a budget model, you know the frustration of a cramped throat opening that forces you to constantly reposition fabric. The Skyline line promises a larger workspace and a computerized interface, which sounds great on paper, but the proof is in how it feels after you've stitched a few rows of a simple shirt or a block of a quilt. I started by setting up the S7 on a standard home sewing table, and the first thing that stood out was the size of the machine itself. It's a solid piece of equipment, not something you can tuck away in a closet. That can be a drawback for apartment dwellers, but for a dedicated sewing room the footprint translates into a spacious throat and a lower presser foot that lets you glide larger fabric pieces with less effort. In practice, that means when I'm working on a 60-inch quilt top, I'm not constantly fighting the edges of the machine, the fabric stays centered and the needle tracks smoothly. The computer panel is another area where the Skyline S7 tries to earn its premium. It offers a menu-driven selection of stitches, and the LCD screen is bright enough to read in a dim workshop. What matters most is how intuitive that interface is after you've watched the quick start guide. I found that after about 15 minutes of tinkering, I could switch from a straight stitch to a decorative zigzag without hunting through a manual. For someone who frequently alternates between garment construction and quilting, that speed boost feels real. The machine also stores a handful of favorite stitch settings, so you can recall them at the touch of a button handy when you're juggling multiple projects in one day. Of course, the trade-off for those conveniences is the learning curve. The computerized controls are more complex than a basic mechanical knob, and the first few projects can feel like you're navigating a small computer rather than a sewing machine. If you're used to turning a dial and pulling a lever, the S7 will ask you to press a few icons first. That's not a deal breaker, but it does mean you need to budget some time for practice before tackling a serious quilting block or a fitted shirt. Another practical consideration is the accessories that come with the machine. The Skyline S7 ships with a set of presser feet that cover the basics, a standard foot, a zipper foot, and a quilting foot. Those three will get you through most hobbyist projects, but if you're planning to do a lot of buttonholes, embroidery, or specialty quilting techniques, you'll likely need to purchase additional feet. The good news is Janome's ecosystem is well supported, and the extra accessories are readily available, but that does add to the overall cost of ownership. Now, who should really consider the Skyline S7? First, seasoned sewists and quilters who have outgrown entry-level machines. If you're regularly working with medium to large-scale projects, think quilts, home decor items, or small-batch clothing lines, the larger throat and computer-controlled stitch library will shave minutes off each task, and those minutes add up over a season of production. Second, anyone who values consistency. The computerized tension control on the S7 is designed to adjust on the fly, which helps prevent the dreaded thread breaks that can ruin a seam after you've already stitched 100 rows. That reliability is a huge win for small business owners who can't afford to redo work. On the flip side, the Skyline S7 isn't the best fit for absolute beginners who are just learning how to thread a needle and manage a bobbin. If your sewing habit is limited to occasional repairs or a few hobby projects, a simpler, lighter machine with fewer digital menus might give you the confidence you need without the initial overwhelm. Also, if you have limited studio space, the bulk of the S7 could become a nuisance. A compact mechanical model would sit more comfortably on a kitchen table. From a practical standpoint, the strengths of the Skyline S7 really shine during extended use. The motor runs quietly enough that you can leave it on while you're watching a TV show, and the stitch quality remains consistent even after an hour of quilting. I tested it on